Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for staying so late. My name's Jonathan Lickis, and I'm also joined by Tyler.
Tyler Ross.
Awesome, good to be here. So in this session, what we wanted to do is talk about how Surface can bring together really productive experience for your end users by showing you some quick tips and tricks. And so we're going to start on my device, and I'm using the Surface Go. If you haven't seen the Surface Go yet, our Surface booth area is just here in the expo. Be sure to check it out later. Beautiful 10-inch device with all of the power and performance that you've come to expect from Surface, and all of the design and aesthetics as well. So when we think about providing a great experience for our end users, it's pretty important that from the moment they get the device out of the box, they immediately feel like they can be productive. And so I'm sure that you've been hearing lots about Windows AutoPilot this week, but this is just a quick walkthrough of what that experience looks like. So if you imagine you've set up Windows AutoPilot on your MDM backend, and you just ship a new device to one of your employees, and they take it out of the box. This is the first experience that they could walk through. They simply choose their language, choose the right keyboard layout, and then they have the option to connect to Wi-Fi. And as soon as there's a Wi-Fi connection, the first thing that happens is that any Surface device goes off and actually calls home and says, hey, have I been configured for AutoPilot? Then it finds the profile, it knows that in MDM, this device has been assigned to me as a user, and all it asks me to do is simply type in my password. That's the only interaction I have to have with this device while I'm going through the out-of-box setup. So I simply enter my password, it then goes on to configure all of the account settings, profiles that I've pushed down in MDM, and literally the device is ready to use. So of course we're using a PowerPoint walkthrough there because it's easy for demo purposes, but we do actually have a workshop area where we're showing this live in our booth, and if you're interested in it, we can help you set up a proof of concept within your environments as well. So thinking about tips and tricks, one of the things that we love to talk to people about is using the Surface Pen. It's an extremely natural and fluid way to help people express their creativity. But one of the things that you can do in settings is in settings and then Pen and Windows Ink, you can actually configure some personalization options for the pen. And so here you can see that if I double click it, it's actually going to launch OneNote. Now, while I'm in here as well, because this demo that Tyler and I are about to walk through is going to include us collaborating on some documents, and I'm working extremely mobile, I also want to make sure that I've got all of the battery life I need to work through the day. And so in here and battery, I just wanted to make sure that people were aware that we have this setting in Windows called Battery Saver, so that if you know you're going to be working for long hours and perhaps don't need the entire performance of the device, you can just go in, turn on Battery Saver, and it'll make sure that all of those background tasks kind of pause working for a little bit to help you get the most out of your battery life. So next, I was just showing you in settings the pen configuration that we've done, and I'm going to be working on this PowerPoint presentation that Tyler and I have to give at work. And so all I need to do is just double click the end of my pen, and straight away as maybe I'm having those ideas, OneNote has opened and taken me straight back to where I was working from. And so you can see here I've been sort of inking away. Now the first thing that's really cool is that if you're somebody who starts to take a lot of handwritten notes in OneNote, it's really important to be able to search through them to find what you need to get to really easily. So just as a quick example of that, if I wanted to do a search for webcam, because of some of the AI technology that we are infusing into our products for free to help democratize the use of AI, you can actually see that it scanned the handwriting that I've done, converted it into text, and when I search for a word, it's been able to find that in the OneNote files. The next thing I wanted to show is that, quite often before I started using Surface devices, when I had to think creatively about something, quite often for me it was when I was starting to draw the outline of a PowerPoint presentation that I was going to be working on. I'd grab a sheet of paper and I'd start drawing out the big blocks and some notes around it. And then you kind of find yourself going to a computer and kind of having to redo what you've already done, but just inputting it into the computer. So the great thing here is that I can just select this text using the pen, and then in OneNote use this functionality called ink to text. Let me go back from here. This was even working earlier, right? So I'm not sure what's going on there. But you'd be able to convert this ink into text using that setting, and we'll figure out what's going on afterwards. And then the other thing that you can quickly do is that if you're inking and you want to create shapes, any shape that you draw, it actually corrects it and becomes an object. So again, if you're thinking about using this to maybe start drawing out flows for your presentations, you have to get it pretty accurate. If you're thinking about drawing out flows for your presentations, it's great to be able to use the objects that you're creating in ink and then just quickly and easily copying and pasting them into the other programs that you're using. So next, we're going to start working on this PowerPoint presentation. And so from within Teams, you can see that we've got this group that we created all about this new webcam proposal that we're putting together. And you can see that I added the PowerPoint presentation in here. So we're going to go ahead and open it up in full PowerPoint. And the first thing that you'll notice is that we've got this slide here that at the moment I think looks quite messy. And so I'm actually going to use, again, inking to just say, like, hey, I'm not really sure that this looks good. And then I'm going to ask Tyler later on to make sure that he creates a better looking slide than that. So the other thing that I quickly wanted to show is that in here, when you think about a mission statement that I might want to write, if we weren't using the type cover on the new Surface Go, we have this great on-screen keyboard that delivers quite a lot of different options you can use it. So depending on whether you're using the device maybe in portrait mode or landscape mode, you can see that we've got this option here that actually puts the keyboard to either side of the device so that you can just use your thumbs to quickly type. But we've also added swipe support that many of you will be used to using on your keyboards on your phones to quickly be able to input the words. So if I just wanted to say, create the best webcam. Because that's what we need to do, Tyler, right? Create the best webcam. You can see that for the majority of it, and this is something that you can actually train over time, swiping the keyboard keys actually predicts the words that you're trying to get to. So especially if you're using this device in a very touch-first mode, you can really quickly input text there. So of course, you can see at the top that this is saved in our SharePoint backend of Teams. So it's automatically been saving in the backend. And now what I'm going to do is quickly leave a reply in Teams to tag Tyler. So I'm going to add in Tyler here. Take a look at my notes on slide 3. And I'm going to send that to him so that he knows what I'm thinking of. So over to Tyler to look at how we're continuing to collaborate together.
Awesome, thanks, John.
Thank you.
As we switch the video over here, for those of you that have Surface in the audience, I see a number of you out there. One of the things that I've honestly started to take for granted is the ability to log into my machine using Windows Hello. You can see on the screen it's looking for me. I'm far enough away where I can't see, but as soon as I step in front of the device, it's going to say, hello Tyler, dismiss the lock screen. So without ever needing to enter a password or a PIN, I'm able to log in with my face. Start of my day, I can see that Teams is trying to get my attention. So I come down to Teams, I'll go to my activity and say, hey, it seems like Jonathan had tagged me. He asked me to look at his notes on slide 3. So we go ahead and open up that PowerPoint. And as you notice, I can actually open up PowerPoint inside of Teams. So I can go through and view what Jonathan's asked me for. Or I also have the option to open up in the actual PowerPoint application. So again, if I just want to quickly browse through it, I can do it inside of Teams or jump over to the full PowerPoint application. So, Jonathan mentioned a few times talking about pen, something that, we do talk about pen a lot, but if you're a pen user, the worst idea, if your pen runs out of ink, your pen runs out of battery. So something that, we've had inside the Surface app now is I can actually pull the battery life off of any of the Surface accessories. So that's the Surface Pen or the Surface Precision mouse. So I don't have to worry about, is my battery going to die, or when it gets below a certain threshold, I can know to go ahead and replace it. So I'm going to jump back to the PowerPoint, and I can see that Jonathan's made a change here to slide 2, mission statement, and so I love it. So we'll approve that one. But down to slide 3, where Jonathan asked me to take a look. So he's saying, not sure this looks good. I'm going to use a feature in PowerPoint called Ink Replay, which is actually going to let me see exactly, kind of the order which we circle these pictures. So it's those specific pictures that I know he's saying, doesn't look good. So I'm going to create a new slide, and I'm actually going to grab these photos, copy them, and I'm going to paste them over here. Whoa. Paste them over here. And what PowerPoint PowerPoint does, Jonathan mentioned, our trying to drive AI into, the entirety of the applications we have. This technology is called design ideas. It recognizes that I'm putting photos onto a slide. And I'm not the most creative person, so it actually does some of the work for me. It gives me a few options of, hey, here's how you could arrange these photos in a way that looks better than just dumping them on the page. So I pick an option that I like, and then I'm going to go with this one right here. And as mentioned, autosave is turned on. So as I'm making these changes, it's syncing back to the SharePoint backend that we're accessing through Teams. To jump a little bit, I mentioned the Precision mouse, something that I don't know if you all have seen this. But it's a device, it's a mouse that actually can pair to 3 different computers. I have the luxury of having more than one machine that I work with, so I have a Surface Book here, and also a Surface Go for when I'm on the move. This one mouse has the ability to pair to 3 different Bluetooth profiles, so I can easily switch between them. But where this gets interesting is if I open up the Microsoft Mouse and Keyboard Center. There we go. So again, I actually can use an application on my PC to configure the settings. How many lines do I want it to scroll? What orientation do I want the forward and back buttons on the device to work with? Well, we actually do app-specific controls. And so one of the tips that I use, we spend a lot of time on Skype calls and team calls, and we've all had the experience where you're on mute because you're cough or whatever it may be, and then you have to fight to unmute it. I program the front button of my mouse when I'm in Teams or when I'm in Skype to be a mute button. So I have a physical mute button to mute and unmute. One less thing you have to go fight for the small target on the screen to mute and unmute. That's one of kind of my little tips and tricks there. So I've now gone through the PowerPoint. I've done what I like. I like where slide 4 ended up. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shut my machine, walk around the corner to the meeting, and hope that we don't worry about this too much. So I get to my meeting, open my device back up, and I don't have to worry about whether this has the latest version, whether this synced to our backend, because I actually have a setting turned on that when my machine goes to sleep, so when I shut the lid, I don't want the Wi-Fi network to ever turn off. So as I'm walking around the building, as I'm going from home to work, my computer is going to constantly be looking, hey, is there Wi-Fi? Is there any updates? Do I need to pull out a newer version of the PowerPoint? So I know that when I walk into the boardroom to deliver this presentation, I have the latest version of it. Of course, if we are battery conscious, I can have it, hey, turn the Wi-Fi off as soon as I shut my machine, or let Windows manage it, which will actually say, hey, you have 90% battery left. I think we can afford to leave the Wi-Fi radio on, or if your battery is starting to drain a little bit, it'll go ahead and cut that off for you. So finally, we get to our meeting. We're in the boardroom, and it's time to present. You've heard a lot. Kind of the ongoing theme here is the fact that the pen really is a valuable asset here. If I can get out of presenter mode. So one thing we've built into PowerPoint is the ability to click pen to advance a slide. So I can click the top of the pen, advance a slide. If I hold it, it actually goes backwards. So again, we've all seen clickers or had to be chained to the desk. In this case, I could actually move around the room and have the ability to advance my slides with the tools that you already have. Awesome. And we delivered our presentation to a wonderful webcam idea.
They're gonna go with it, right?
They're definitely going to go with it.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, thanks so much for everybody. I hope that some of those were useful tips and tricks that you can take back, either use yourselves or pass on to your employees. We've got a ton more demos going on in the Surface booth area with all of our devices lined up. We'll be hanging around for a little bit to take any questions that you might have, but thanks so much for hanging around and have a great time at the celebration tonight. Thanks, everyone.